Welcome back to another episode of the Eek of the Week. I'm your host, Albert Einstein, but you can call me Owly with an OWL. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode. We are getting into cults, or there's two or three, I'm losing count now, of how many episodes we're up to on different series that I'm doing. We're doing cults now, and I'm super fascinated with this stuff. This next one is fairly recent, and I'm curious if you guys have heard about this one before. I like to watch this type of stuff, like, documentaries on YouTube, or there's a couple of people that I follow on YouTube that do really, really good edits and just downright good documentary videos. If I could link, this isn't YouTube, but if I could link you guys some of the good ones, I would. Sorry, brief pause there. Let's see. Before I get into this, I need to say listener discretion is advised because we are talking about sensitive topics. Like with any type of cult, you could come across anything crazy, wacky, disturbing, disgusting, horrible acts that human beings have done. If any of that is disturbing or triggering to you, maybe skip this one and find some of the more PG rated narrations down below. They're a little bit shorter and they're not older, but that was pretty much like our bread and butter. What I first started doing when I started this whole project or podcast. But yeah, listener discretion is strongly advised. If any of these topics are triggering to you or disturbing, maybe skip it or don't give it a listen. It might not be up your alley. Let's get into this next one. This is about Love Has Won and a lady named Amy Carlson, who was often called Mother God or Mom. These really fascinate me. These type of cults where they have this one person who, let's just get into it. It's super fascinating. Let's see, anything else that the little intro to my prompt says. Draws from real events and is, okay. Okay. So this is throwing it in with the Dark Files. That's one of my series that we've had going as the Dark Files, but this is going in our cult folder. Let's get into it. Any other housekeeping things? Like, share, follow, all the things. Let your friends know that we're having a lot of fun over here. I don't know if you are, but I am having a lot of fun. So let the world know what we're doing. Okay, let's see. Get situated here. I'm actually sitting in a. There's a couple. Okay, before there's like a set change, if you want to call my bedroom a set. I got some houseplants today, and I'm not very good at keeping them alive, but we're gonna try and rehab them back to life. They have. I don't know if you guys have this at your local hardware store, but there is in the lawn and garden section or even in the indoor plant section that they have a clearance part where it's kind of, they take like the sickly looking plants and they mark them down ridiculously cheap. So I grabbed an orchid, and I can't pronounce the name of the other one, but it's a really pretty, big leaf looking houseplant that had a bunch of like yellow leaves around the bottom, and then, I just clipped them off and got both, and I had to actually rehab the orchid, and we're going to see if she will throw out some new blooms, which I'm pretty sure it's already bloomed this season because a lot of the times in these hardware stores, like they'll get shipments of all these orchids and violets and stuff like that that you want to get for Mother's Day or something like that. And then once they've bloomed, they go into like a dormant stage or, a growth stage where they focus on the roots and the leaves and all that stuff. So anyways, I could talk about plants all night, but this is not what this podcast is for. I say all that to say is that I had to move a bunch of stuff around here in my room. So like over this shoulder, you'll see that I had to move some of my artwork and like framed stuff that I don't have up on my walls yet. Obviously you can see my blank wall back here. And then I had to move some stuff over this shoulder too to accommodate my little artichoke stool that was over here is now sitting over here in front of this window, which you probably can't see because of this little mini fridge that I've got full of Fresca. So there's a plant sitting over here, and then there's all of my like framed artwork and stuff over here. Minor stuff, but that's why it's a little different. All of this really doesn't matter. You're just here. You're here for the stories, right? So let's get into it. I'm rambly tonight, which is totally fine. And you know why that is because I'm kind of bummed that I have to go back to work tomorrow. I had an extra long Memorial Day weekend, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I got 5 different piercings this weekend. I went out to lunch with my brother. What else did we do? We did went shopping with my sister and my mother. It was fun. Just a fun-filled long weekend, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm not ready to go back to work. So, yeah. Anyways, back to basics. Let's get into this next episode. This is Dark Files, The Blue Lady, The Cult of Love Has Won. Let me ask you something. What would make someone believe their mother was God? Not just any mother, your mother. The one who yells at you, the one who forgets your birthday, the one who drinks too much and crashes Thanksgiving dinner. That mother. Now imagine that mother covered herself in blue paint, told you she lived 19 billion years, ruled the world, had been crucified as Jesus, and claimed to speak directly to angels through Facebook live streams, slurring her words and giggling like a teenager on mushrooms. Well, that mother existed, and her name was Amy Carlson. This is The Dark Files. Tonight we crack open one of the most disturbing modern cult cases you've probably never heard of. The bizarre real-life rise and rotting death of a woman who called herself Mother God, and the loyal cult that worshipped her until the bitter end. This is the case of Love Has Won. Sorry, I gotta scroll here. Amy Carlson was born in Dallas, Texas in 1975. A seemingly normal child, straight-A student, soprano in the school choir, she was the kind of girl people described as gifted, but maybe too gifted. According to her family, Amy became obsessed with religion, space, and esoteric ideas by her teenage years. Her favorite movie? Close Encounters of the Third Kind. She believed aliens were contacting her, at first in dreams, then later in waking life. At some point in her 30s, something shifted. She divorced her third husband, left her children behind, and wandered off into the New Age scene in Colorado. Her online trail begins in 2007 with a message board called lightworkers.org, where she met a man who convinced her she was divine. From that moment on, Amy was no longer Amy. She was Mother God. Mother God claimed she had reincarnated 534 times. She'd been Cleopatra, Joan of Arc, Marilyn Monroe, and of course, Jesus Christ. She also claimed Donald Trump was Archangel Uriel, and Robin Williams was communicating with her from the afterlife. No, I'm not making that up. She started a group of spiritual followers, mostly young, disillusioned millennials who had stumbled out of drug addiction, broken homes, or conspiracy theory rabbit holes, and they believed every word. They called her Mom, not ironically, not sarcastically, reverently. And this wasn't a commune handing out hugs and crystals. Behind the fluffy language of 5D ascension and universal love, there was something much darker. Very few people talk about what life inside Love Has Won was really like, but former members have come forward. They said Mom rarely slept. She drank vodka daily and claimed it was medicine. She insisted followers stroke her ego constantly, calling her beautiful, divine, and omniscient. Anyone who questioned her, banished, shamed, mocked on live streams. Her most loyal enforcers, nicknamed the First Contact Ground Crew Team, would sometimes force members to fast for days, sleep on floors, or take near-lethal doses of colloidal silver, a heavy metal solution they insisted cured COVID, cancer, and negative energy. The FDA had already warned about it, but Mom didn't care. She said it was part of the ascension process. And she didn't just take silver. She bathed in it. Her skin began turning blue, literally blue, and not in a poetic way. Photos and videos show Amy in her final months, emaciated, bones sticking out, face sunken, skin an eerie purplish blue from silver poisoning. She looked unholy, like a corpse that hadn't figured out it was dead yet. And maybe it hadn't. Because in the spring of 2021, something grotesque happened. April 28th, 2021, Moffat, Colorado. Sheriff's deputies responded to a 911 call from a former cult member who had fled the group but returned out of concern. He said there was a dead body in the house, and when officers entered the trailer, they weren't prepared for what they found. In the back room, inside a sleeping bag, propped up like a saint in a shrine, decorated with glitter and Christmas lights, was Amy Carlson's mummified corpse. Her eyes were missing, her mouth hung open in a permanent scream, her hair was crusted to the pillow, and yes, her skin was still visibly blue. The group had been keeping her body there for weeks. They believed she had ascended to the fifth dimension, and that her spirit was guiding them. They spoke to her through pendulums and live-streamed rituals. They left food and water beside her corpse. 7 members were arrested, but not for murder. No, for abuse of a corpse and child endangerment. A child had been living in the house while the body decomposed. But the damage was done. Amy Carlson was dead. And Love Has Won had finally collapsed. Or had it. Because like most cults, when the head dies, the body mutates. Love Has Won splintered into new cells almost instantly. One of its rebrandings is called 5D Full Disclosure. Another is Joy Reigns. And they still worship Amy. Some believe she will return. Some believe she's watching them from a higher plane. And some, disturbingly, are trying to continue her work. They still sell colloidal silver. They still talk about the cabal, reptilian elites, and 5D ascension. They still live stream on Facebook and YouTube, less overt, more subtle, but still pushing the same sickness under the surface. This is the part where I'd normally say, and now the nightmare is over. But it isn't. Because the scariest part of the Love Has Won story isn't the mummified corpse, or the poisoned followers, or the blue skin of a woman who thought she was Jesus. No, it's that it happened in the open, online, in plain sight, for years, while thousands of people watched, and laughed, and donated, and shared. It's that in a digital age, you don't need to build a compound or drink Kool-Aid in the jungle. You just need Wi-Fi, a webcam, and someone who's broken enough to believe they're God. And someone else who's broken enough to follow. This has been The Dark Files. Until next time, stay curious and stay out of the cults. You never know when Mom might call you home. Thank you so much for listening in, and we'll catch you in the next one.